Hello, this is Sunil Sunder Raj with Jersey Sporting News. Today, I am happy to be speaking with Danielle McCartan, a host on WFAN 660 in New York City. Daniel, once again, thank you so much for the opportunity. It's great to be talking with you. Congrats on your success at WFAN. It said 4 years overall with WFAN, 3 years as a host. You started as a fill-in. I had to ask you during this journey, and it's so inspiring that you had that 1 hour tryout during the 3 a.m. show, Tony Page.
Yeah.
It's got to be just again very fulfilling what you've been able to accomplish here.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy that you go from being a caller, you're calling into all the shows and you just,
Yeah.
I don't know, and now you're like hosting your own and people are calling you and the dichotomy doesn't strike me, but like when you're in the classroom, you're like always fighting for attention for the kids. And it's like, I tell them, I said, people try to call me on the weekend and they wait on hold to talk to me. Why don't you guys listen to me? But it's obviously might not be the end. I don't want it to be the end, and we'll see what happens. I mean, with call letters like WFAN on your resume,
Yeah,
it carries weight,
that's
so we'll
right.
see where this journey ends up taking me. But for now, it's been a fun ride. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. Just talk about it, like again, being able to have that opportunity, said to uh host, and the fact that just what was going through your mind during that, that time, when you were at the 3 a.m. slot. And again, it just must have had the goosebumps and the butterflies. But what did that?
It's so funny. I got an email from Mark Chernoff, who was the program director at
Yeah.
the time. It was like 8 weeks out. And he was like, "Hey, I just wanted to know, are you free on August 25th between 3 and 4 a.m.?" And I was like, yes, like. So then when I got there and Tony Page was like very cool, calm. He was like, "All right, I'm
Yeah.
just gonna step out for like an hour, but I'll be back at 4. Don't worry. And here's how you work the screen. You press it once." He gave on a
Yeah.
commercial break. He's giving me the quick little tutorial on the touch screen
Victoria, yeah.
all thing. And I was like, "All right." He's like, "You're good." And I was like, "Okay." And honestly, I don't even know what I talked about. I don't even know. It was like the first day of school. Always,
Yeah.
September is always a blur. It was an entire blur. I couldn't even tell you what we talked about, but I mean, I guess it was good. I guess it was good enough. I mean, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was. I don't even know. I don't even know how I did it. I don't even know. But I'm here, and it was fun. It was obviously to learn from Tony Page. I mean, come on.
Oh yeah, the GOAT. I mean, he definitely
Yeah.
is. He's the one of the best in the business. Hey, just
Yeah.
talk about. I mean, just as you said, making that transition, going from a caller to a host, the responsibilities, and just in the preparation as well. That's so key, Danielle. Just in terms of getting ready for a show. And you host, I said on the weekends, a late show. Said basically during the graveyard shift. So I had to ask you, just
Yeah.
what goes into that overall process for you.
Yeah, for me, and I guess it's the teacher in me, but I like to do an intelligent sports talk show. I don't like the
Mhm.
idiot callers calling in, like, it happens. But I just was reading
Yeah.
an article about Nate Burleson, and Nate Burleson, I think something along the lines of, he said, like just 10 minutes ago, something along the lines of, he said, I don't ever want someone to be like, "Ha, see, I knew he doesn't know what he's talking about." So
Yeah.
that's kind of the mentality that I have. Like,
Hmm.
I do, like, teachers at school know, like, I won't go to lunch with them on Thursday and Friday. I'm watching press conferences in my room, eating my lunch. I'm watching
Yeah.
this, doing that, and watching that interview because that person's going to be coming on my show. So people
Yeah.
don't really realize how much people just think, "Oh, you can talk sports," but you have to be, know what you're talking about. Number one, obviously,
Hmm.
I feel like I have to do that a little bit extra because I'm a woman, right? And people always like to try to prove you wrong, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
I know stats. I do my own research. I do my own charts. I book my
Hmm.
own guests. Not that no one has offered to help, but I prefer to do it that way. I want to
Yeah.
make that connection with the guest. And then just pages and pages of notes, because I never want someone, like Nate had said, to tell me, "See, I knew she didn't know."
Yeah.
And and it's also a little bit difficult too, because I've got to pick through a week's worth of topics to see, like, hey, if there's a story today, like the Empire State Building, that's going to be old news by Saturday night. So
Hmm.
I have to pick and choose and curate which topics I think might be conversational, and then hope that it works that way. And if it doesn't, I got to go back to the drawing board. So it's a lot, especially working a full-time job, and coaching is going to be starting up soon. So, but you know, it's a labor of love, and I love it. And it doesn't really feel like work, actually, you know, it just doesn't.
I obviously it comes across. You have that passion, you have that desire. I mean, they said you've invested so much time in it. You said hours of research. I mean, I agree 100%. I think, you know, by observing others, note taking, you know, really like, you know, having that in-depth knowledge. And as you said, you know, that's the thing with the sports cycle now. And we know with social media, I mean, like every minute, second, hour counts, because as you said, there's always breaking news, Danielle.
I broke the Kodai Senga news on my show, 11:30 p.m. on a Saturday night. It was the best. You want to know? I was just talking about this too, because I was prepared for it. I already had talked about his stats and his chart and his numbers, and I recommended it for the Mets. And then when it happened on my show, I was like, boom, this is an easy layup show, because I'm prepared for it. Everybody's excited about it. It was a good move. And so if you weren't prepared for it, you would have been like fumbling on the commercial break to be like, oh yeah, let me get back to you on that. Like, that's key for that's a key phrase for, I don't know. Let me do some research on a commercial break to you know. So it was exciting, speaking of breaking news on a Saturday night, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I'm glad you shared that one. Yeah, definitely. I think that's got to be like right up there, probably your top 5, like, you know, said definitely in your in hosting, you know, said at WFAN.
Yeah.
Before we came on the air, and I read this, is that I'm so impressed. It said, because you have to have the skill set these days, you know, and we talked about, again, with your research and your knowledge, but the fact that with social media as well, you have to be very adept with that. And I love that they GarageBand, iMovies, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. There's I mean, I'm on that stuff. I mean, I see how, you know, pivotal it is as well. So, I mean, that's just so commendable, that the fact that you didn't need to take any courses. You just, you know, you took that initiative and did it on your own, Danielle.
Yeah. The thing is, it's social media. I can't use, it's in my contract that I can't really tweet during the school day. I think I sent one out at lunchtime. It was at lunch about something, Verlander, I think, but I can't tweet throughout the school day. So, you know, at 3:00, I'm walking through, you know, out of the school into the parking lot, and I'm like, oh my God, I got to catch up on all of this, you know? So it's kind of like a part-time job in and of itself to manage all that. And of course you want to do the SEO and the there's so much that goes into it. You know, I need an assistant, man. This is a lot. But Twitter, you know, Twitter's opened up some major doors for me. I mean, it opened up the whole thing at the Fan, you know? So it's like, you never know who you're going to connect with on Twitter, who's going to answer you, and what it can lead to. So it's, Twitter's been, besides a couple trolls, which, you know, you don't feed them, they starve, and that's it.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. So I'm wondering, you know, just going back to when you were a caller, some of your favorite hosts and, like, you know, who you talk to, you know, pretty
Hold on,
much
there's somebody at my door. Hold on a second.
Okay.
Who is that? Oh, hold on. What happened? Thanks. I am so sorry.
No, it's okay. Don't
my
worry
neighbor,
about
she's
that.
like, Danielle. And I'm like, my feet are, I thought she was in trouble. She's an old lady, and I thought she was in trouble, you know, and I'm like shaking a little bit. And she was like, oh, I just wanted to know, did your dog get out? And I was like, what? She was like, oh, because on the ring, on the neighborhood, on the ring, it looked just like a dog. And I was like,
okay. Yeah, breathing a huge sigh of relief, right?
I'm shaking a little bit. I thought she was in trouble. I thought she needed help because she lives alone. And
I have a next door neighbor who also lives by herself. So it's she's always, calling is, when there are strangers around or, there's a storm and it's just like, so, I mean, her
Oh,
son comes by. Yeah. Okay.
sorry.
Just take,
I'm sorry.
sorry.
You'll cut
No, I
that,
was
right?
going to say, when you were a caller,
Yeah.
were there any like particular hosts that you talked to on a regular basis and really like, that stood out to you?
Yeah, I mean, probably because of my school hours. I think I've talked to Boomer and I think it was McCartan at the time
Hmm.
on the way in from school. I most often called Mike Francesa actually, and
Okay.
I think it was a call where one of the calls I was like, you know what, I can do this. Is when Mike, he cuts people off after like 30
Yeah.
seconds, and I called up, and it was when the Raiders were going to be moving to Vegas, and I had done extensive research on public funding for stadiums and like this whole
Yeah.
thing. And I called up, and he let me speak. Like he gave me like 4 or 5 minutes, which is an eternity if it's Mike
Yeah.
Francesa. So, and then I was like holding my own. And he's like, well, they shouldn't be using, public funds. And I said, no, I agree with you, but here's the
Hmm.
list of the past 5 stadiums and how much public funding has gone into those stadiums. I agree. It shouldn't
Hmm.
be used. And he was kind of like, I think a little bit surprised. And that day I was like, I can hang with the best of them. And I
Yeah.
really put my pedal to the metal on that day.
That's tremendous. That's great to hear. And you know what? Another thing is another nugget is that from one Ramapo College grad to another, that the fact that you hosted your own show on WRPR, that
Yeah.
I think, it also audited a sports media course at Ramapo College. Talk about how, again, that really shaped you as well and just gave you that, that confidence, that experience as well, Danielle.
Yeah. It's like, all right, I had to try to find my voice somehow. Right. So,
Hmm.
yeah, I had a blog for a little while that I wanted to look back at the post, but it has since gone off. Like the server went down. So
Yeah.
from there, I kind of strong armed the student manager. This was after college. I was like
Yeah.
older, and I ordered a course. I went every whatever it was night to do it.
Hmm.
And I said to the kid, the radio station kid, I was like, you're going to give me an alumni show. And he's like, I
Yeah.
don't know. I was like, yeah, you're going to do it. So figure it out. I would like to do it
Yeah.
at 10 a.m. on Sundays. And I called it 60-minute overtime. My friend's a graphic designer. She did the artwork for it. And that's kind of how it got started. I had people calling in, like people were actually calling in, like 825-1234, whatever it was. And
Yeah.
people called. I was like, like if people are calling, like not college students, but if people are calling like me
Yeah.
on this radio, like, all right, there's something here. Like it always like,
Yeah.
I feel encouraged by the little participation and the little, things that people do, to
Hmm.
kind of push you on. Cause sometimes it gets hard. Sometimes it's really hard. And it's like, all right, maybe I'm not cut out for this. Maybe I can't do this. But then when you get like the little push and you're like, yeah, no, I
Yeah.
can do, you know?
Yeah. No, that's awesome to hear. Hey, I was wondering when you're at Ramapo College, because as you said, you did this after you graduated from there. During your time at Ramapo, were just that interest level in terms of a sports media, sports broadcasting, did it enter your mind at that point? I'm just wondering,
Uh,
like, just curious about that.
no, it did
Oh,
not.
wow.
No,
Okay.
I had a Wednesday night class my senior
Yeah.
year, fall of my senior year. All my
Yeah.
requirements were met. All I needed were credits. So
Okay.
my roommate was a communications major, and she was like, "Oh, I'm doing
Yeah.
like this sports media class on Wednesday night, 6 to 9:15.
Hmm.
You want to do it with me?" And I was like, "So it was a 300 level course, and you had
Yeah.
needed prerequisites." And I was like, I emailed. I was like, I don't need the prerequisites. Put me in this class, and they did. So we
Yeah.
got to take it together, and I gave a
Yeah.
presentation on CBS Sports, ironically, because now Fan and CBS, we share the same key
Yeah.
card, And so I did a presentation on CBS Sports, and the professor, he was like a no BS kind of guy, and he was like, I sat down. It was like 10 minutes long. I sat down. He goes, "See me after class," and I was like, for 2.5 more hours, I sat there wondering what did I do wrong, Well, then at the end, I mean, he called me over and he was like, did you ever think about this as a career? And I was like, no, I'm student teaching in like 3 months. It's already placed, already done, all that. No. And he was like, well, I think you'd be good at it. You're a little short, he said, but they could throw some heels on you. And I was like, so he said, my son works for Real Sports. Come to my office hours next week. I'll get some information for you. I'll give you his contact information. I was like,
Mhm.
oh, cool. So I went and I knocked and he wasn't there. And I knocked again, nothing.
Yeah.
I just went to class and never spoke about it with him ever again. He passed away, unfortunately, but I'm friends with his son on Facebook now.
Mhm.
And that was kind of the kick in the, that I needed. Then I was like, wait, And then like after like four years of teaching or so, I had that
Yeah.
seed planted, and I was like, you know what? What if? Let me try this,
Yeah.
and look where it's landed me. So
Yeah. It's again, that's just that's phenomenal. I'm wondering what broadcasters out there that you really look up to, and you sort of like
yeah.
really stand down. Just you're say, hi, yeah, those are the people that I really can take away quite a bit, and just maybe apply it to your craft as well, Danielle.
I always like watching Kim Jones on the Yes Network. Always,
Hmm.
she was fantastic at that when she was there, and now it's kind of shifted. Meredith Marakovitz,
Yeah.
showing me the ropes a little bit over there at Yankee Stadium, which is appreciated, of course.
Hmm.
There's Susan Waldman, of course, and Laura Oakman, probably most of all. I would say, not sliding any of the other ones. They've all been
Yeah.
fantastic. I mean, Laura has this camp for women, and
Yeah.
it's called Galvanize, and
Yes.
it's a great name for it. So,
Hmm.
yeah, Laura's just been fantastic, and just creating a culture of, everybody's trying for the same jobs, right, in the same space, but Laura, in a really unique way, created a team. It's a team. Like, we still have the
Yeah.
group me chat from 2017 going. So it's like, hey, there's a job here. Is anybody interested? Hey, I can help you about
Yeah.
that. And it's like Laura Oakman has been instrumental, and ask anybody that's ever done one of her camps. I mean, I mean, she continues to be a fantastic, probably number one resource for me. Also, Amy
Yeah.
Trask too, from the Raiders and former Raiders. But
Hmm.
yeah, it's a good little network. I feel if you're good to people, then there's a saying in Italian that's like "Dimmi con chi vai e ti dirò chi sei," and it's like, tell me with whom you go around, and I'll tell you who you are. So I
Hmm.
always try to keep good people, say thank you, and be good to people, because
Yeah.
it's the right thing to do, first of all.
No, exactly. I agree 100% with you. And it's a great segue. And I know you alluded to it earlier, women in sports. And it's a big initiative for me. I'm a father. I have a daughter who's a sophomore in high school. And I really think, I think you're just an absolutely incredible role model. I think for a lot of, young girls out there, young women. I'm just wondering, like, just in terms of being that you talked about, I said those people out there that you look up to, just, I mean, how important, I mean, it's grown and we've seen it, like, especially in college and professional sports, especially the WNBA as well. I wanted to get your take on that because I mean, we're seeing more opportunities for women in sports, but I know there's still a long ways to go. I mean, still to, catch up, but just describe that process as well, Danielle.
Yeah, it's tough. You look around and it's like, all right, who else is there? Like, on the
Yeah.
fan right now, current hosting, myself in a part-time role and Lori Rubinson in a part-time role. That's
Mm-hmm.
it. And
Yeah.
it's like, all right, are they going through the same? It's isolating in a way,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you would hope that everybody there is supportive of you. But again, it's a competitive business. I'm not,
Hmm.
no one's here to make friends. Like, you're here to do a job, connect with the listeners, and that's it. And I shouldn't say that's it, but there's more to it. But you're not there to make friends. But I feel like everybody should be supportive of you. We're all on the same team, essentially,
Hmm.
right? So you should be supportive of a teammate.
Yeah.
So there's been some obstacles, but you got to have the right attitude. It maybe, thinking about this in college, maybe I wouldn't have been equipped to do this. Maybe I would have had a try out on the fan and totally flopped it, and that would be the end of it. But
Yeah.
everything happens for a reason. I'm here at 34
Hmm.
years old doing this for a reason, because you know what? I can handle it.
Yeah.
Bring it on. Bring it on. I had a guy message me the other day. He's like, I love how you go back at callers because you know your stuff. And I
Hmm.
use that word, but I said, you know what? Yeah, I have no problem going back on a caller. You're wrong. I've done business. You're just calling up an opinion as you're driving around picking your nose. I've done the research, so I know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I mean, it's been tough. I mean, but you always talk about women in sports that want to help each other, right? I've
Yeah.
encountered women that don't want to help you, and that's fine too.
Hmm.
But you also, how about the men that want to help you too? I mean, Boomer Esiason has been great. I mean, he has been
Yeah.
amazing, outstanding, and I mean, there's just so many of them. Bruce Beck has been great, and there's all these guys that are like, all right, hey, they're here to
Yeah.
help me too. They're here to coach me up too. So
Yeah.
yeah, when we talk women in sports, you also have to include the men that are willing
That's
to
true. Yeah.
do it.
Who are mentors as well and have been
Yeah.
in the business for for an extended amount of time. I agree. Hey, I have again, you know him very well, a good friend, probably one of the best photographers, in Bergen County, North Jersey, and Brian Carr. And Brian was nice enough to provide some, information on you regarding family and of course, your hobbies as well. And he talks about your family. And I want to ask you, before I get to growing up, was sports big in the family? I just had to ask you about that.
Yeah, my mom just roots for whoever we root for.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll tweet some of the crazy stuff she says, and she's like,
Yeah.
"I'm gonna kill you." But my dad, he always told us he played football growing up, but we never believed him. But
Yeah.
he's a big fan, Mets, Giants fan. He is, and
Yeah.
I mean, I always played sports. I mean, sports was always a part of, after you get home from school and you go to play sports. So I
Yeah.
actually had Brian Carr as a coach.
Yes.
First grade,
Dumont
maybe?
High School.
Oh no, like first grade.
Earlier,
like
yeah. Okay.
Because I played baseball with the boys.
Okay.
Until I had to switch to softball. Like they made me
Yeah.
switch going into freshman year. They made me switch to softball.
Yeah.
But if I had it my way, I'd still be playing with the boys, So I guess that's where I learned to be thick-skinned and tough,
Yeah.
there.
No.
But Brian, he was one of my coaches. Michael, I played with Michael Carr, his son Michael. So yeah, good old Dumont.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Bergen County, you have that. I mean, it's special, to have those meaningful relationships, and especially with Brian and his family. That's, I mean, that's gotta. I know it's again, it carries, it holds a very special place in your heart, Danielle.
Dumont Little League asked me to speak at their opening day ceremony. I mean, I used to march in the parade. I used to march in that parade. I was on the Twins as a T-baller, and then on the Yankees, and then I was on the Marlins. But they asked me to speak at the opening day, and I was like, "What? Me? You want me?" So I was like, "How do I make this? Because who wants to hear from me?" So I was like, "How do I make this extra?" I always like to do extra. So I was in the Yankee clubhouse. I had spring break from school. I spent it at Yankee Stadium, and I just mentioned it to Aaron Judge. And he was like, "Before?" I said, for Little League opening day, whatever. Yeah. And I was like, would you mind just doing like a quick little message to the kids? And he was like, all right. So I put my phone right up to his, and I have a little working relationship with Aaron Judge anyway, but I'm doing all that. But he was like, he recorded me, "Hey, it's Aaron Judge and the New York Yankees. Congratulations." He went on. It was like 30 seconds. So I played it. I knew I played it for the kids in the microphone from my phone. And they were like, "Oh, Aaron Judge." And then they asked me to do it again this year. I don't know how I'm going to top that. So I got to start thinking. I don't know how I'm going to do it.
Thanks for sharing that. That's great. Hey, Brian mentioned that your grandparents moved to New Milford, in the 1960s as well. Just talk about, I mean, extended family, grandparents, the support you received from them as well during this journey, and of course your parents as well.
Yeah, I mean, my parents first. I mean, I say like, all right, I'm going to the Yankee game. I have to be there at 2:00. I won't be home till 12. Can you take the dog? So he's like, sure. Yeah. Yes. Because that's cruelty to animals. I won't do that. But it's funny you say grandparents, because my grandma, who did move to New Milford in the 1960s, we just had to go visit her for over Christmas break. And she's in Dumont still too. And she has an Amazon Alexa. And I was doing middays the next day over Christmas break. And my dad was like, "Oh, you should listen to her." I'm like, she's 95. She just turned 95 yesterday. So she doesn't know how to, I mean, so I said, "Grandma, that's an Alexa, right?" She said, "Yeah." So I wrote down, "Tell Alexa at 10 a.m. to say WFAN. Here's how to turn it off." And she listened to it. She was like, "Wow, you do a great job." So it's support up and down, all over from all family members, and you need that. I wouldn't succeed without it.
Yeah, no, that's terrific. And you're a coach as well. You and Brian said you play shortstop for the Philly softball team in Saddle River. And while you're not scrolling through Twitter or watching 3 games at once while eating dinner, you enjoy attending to your Siberian Husky Lupa. I love that stuff. Just talk about that. I mean, that's got to, again, the fact that being able to coach and then play as well. I mean, that is again. Just amazing. Just talk about that as well, Danielle.
Yeah, the playing part. First of all, people get on me on the fan on the calls And on Twitter, like, dude, you're on the Phillies. And I'm like, dude, I didn't pick the name. You don't pick where you get drafted to. All right.
Yeah.
And it's a fantastic group of women. We went out to trivia the other night. I mean, it's a little community, and
Yeah.
it just, I wouldn't have it any other way, except for maybe change the name maybe to the Yankees.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is what it is. You don't choose where you get drafted. That's what I tell them.
Yeah.
But it's fun. Yeah, the Upper Saddle River League is it's competitive, and I like that. I like being competitive. I still play shortstop. But coaching, it's a whole nother ball game.
That's right. Yeah.
You get to know the kids outside of the classroom, which is great. Build relationships that way. Great. Teaching them not just. I always want my players to come away with not just the game. All right, anybody can teach you the game of softball. You could watch the Yankees and pretty much learn it, right? Or the Mets, or whoever. And it's about lessons. Lessons that you could teach them on the field or on the court. I used to coach volleyball for many, many years, 10, 11 years. It's like all those lessons. It's like, all right, what do you do when you lose? How to be a gracious winner and whatever the expression is, and a good loser, a good winner and a good loser. And how to deal with adversity if a call doesn't go your way, a big call doesn't go your way, and how to be complimentary of an opponent when you're being interviewed after a game, and it's all this stuff that you learn that on a field or a court that you can't always get in a classroom or in life. So always the takeaway for me for the kids is, you come away knowing the game of softball, we're competitive, we're good, we're honing our skills, but am I a better person? How can I be a better person from applying the rules that I learned to my life?
Yeah. I think that's sometimes a lost art, displaying that sportsmanship, amongst the players, the coaches. You're right. I think you hit it right on the tee, about that. Yeah.
How about the parents watching the games too?
Yes.
I mean, there's a decorum there too. Respect decorum there needed there too.
Believe me, covering games I've seen. I was just at the Bergen County, it said girls tournament over the weekend. I saw some doozies. I was like, wow, like, what kind of example are you setting, for your kids and, out there? It's in the negative, tone instead of being positive. I know that you want to root on, your team, but we've seen it even with former professional players, getting ejected from games. I mean, that is just startling. But some people just don't know how to control their emotions. As said when they're at these games, and of course their kids are on a team, and it's a sad commentary, to see that. I just have a couple more left, and I think you're in a perfect spot, as said, Danielle. Again, there's so much, the competitive nature out there of this business. What would you say? What would your advice and your message be for the younger people out there, women who aspire to be, journalists, or sports broadcasters?
For anyone, it's kind of twofold. For me, the advice I would give to someone else would be, know your stuff. People, especially around here, New Jersey, New York, people see through it if you don't know it, right? So you got to know your stuff, and that's first and foremost. But then, if someone does something for you or responds to your email or whatever, say thank you. Say thank you. Check in every once in a while. Be like, hey, just I don't need anything from you. Just how are you? How you doing? Can I help you with anything? And follow up in that way. Sometimes when you always go to someone and say it with something that you need from them, it's kind of like, oh, here's that person again, So, so I would say, know your stuff, say thank you, and be gracious. And that, you wouldn't believe how many people don't do that. It's amazing to me. The number of people that just don't do that. And I don't do it to be contrarian. I just do it because that's who I am, So say thank you. If you do an interview, say thanks for coming on. If whatever it is. I do plenty of podcasts. Do you know how many I've never gotten a thank you from? I'm busy. I'm a busy person, for me to take time out to talk to you about whatever it is, and that's fine. But say thank you at least, that's all. Just say thank you.
I know.
And I'll be more willing to do it again.
Yeah. I mean, there are just certain values and beliefs, and it just, it's, these is, I said 2 words in the book, in the dictionary. It's mind boggling why people, I don't know what's happening in our society today. It's become very selfish here. And I just, I firmly believe in paying it forward and, I said, trying to help out and, better other people and, make a difference in the community. I think, that's really, what it's about. It's just remarkable how you're able to balance this all out between, the hosting on WFAN, teaching. I mean, just that time management organization. I asked athletes about this, so you obviously have it down pat, Danielle.
Yeah, today it's funny because today, just for example, it's the end of the marking period, which is always a crazy time at school.
Yeah.
Two things I'll say about this. One is like for today, I did not go to lunch with the teachers today. I sat in my room and I started doing recommendations for kids for next year, because I like, that analogy of like the glass being full, throwing the marbles in the glass. If one more marble comes into my glass, it's going to overflow. So I've got to, okay, you skip going to lunch with the teachers. Tomorrow, it's going to be the same comedy act in there. So it's okay.
Yeah.
Your work done first, and then you can go have fun. And working on weekends on the fan, it's a lot. It's a lot because I like to be prepared. I don't do this show, like I said before, that's just willy-nilly, just walk in there and be like, oh,
just wing it.
And people see through that. People hate that. Well, most people hate that. But then I would say, there's things that I have to say no to. Like I have to say no to some things. Like I had to leave my cousin's wedding early one time to get in the car and drive to New York. There's things that my family understands it, right? We talked about family before. They get it. Oh, hey, like, don't bother me on a Friday night. I'm not going to be able to. Invite me. Sure, it's great to be invited, but happy hour at work? Not, sorry, guys, I can't. I got to start researching and I got to watch. I got to be.
Yeah.
So it's a lot, but yeah, time management skills, they are, as the kids say, on fleek. They are on fleek. Don't, and I need sleep to function. Everybody does, but I need like a solid 8 hours of sleep. So I'm in bed by 10 o'clock. I'm very regimented, like an athlete,
Have that structure in place. I mean, that's key. Yeah.
Because then it piles up and then you're in trouble. You're like, oh God, I got to put a whole show together on a Saturday.
Yeah.
Oh, it's too much. It's too much. You'll be able to do it.
Yeah, this business is not for the faint of heart. You got to be in it for the long haul and for the grind. I said I've been in it for almost 10 years, but know that how much commitment, how much dedication. If you don't have that in you and you're not willing to give it 120%, you might as well check out and find yourself another, career and job. So yeah.
Isn't that the same in every career too? Like, all right, if you're a mailman or whatever, and you're half in, half out, you can't be that either. For me, it's either 100 or 0 for me. And
that's right.
Unfortunately, the social life part has been a lot of many zeros there, but professionally, it's been 100, I would say.
Hey, Danielle, you get the final word here in message. I always give it to the athletes and coaches, but I apply it to the journalists as well. And it's amazing. I started my first video interview, 2 years ago or almost 3 years ago with a journalist. But, again, I think it's well-deserved for family, friends, work colleagues, especially whether it's in education, and of course, at WFAN. I wanted to give you the floor. So.
Oh man, I don't really know where to go from here. I mean, it's I don't really tell a lot of people at school. I mean, I'm sure they know, the kids know, the parents know, I'm sure, what I do on the week. I put it this way. Every teacher has like a side job, like whether it's tutoring or coaching or babysitting or working at the Camp Gull Mountain on, people have other jobs, right? Mine just is really cool and really public and really, really extra fun, So, I don't know. It's just, I never liked the two worlds to kind of intermingle really, because I don't know, for whatever reason, but it is rewarding to me when I have a kids come up. And there was one time I couldn't think of it. I could on the radio Saturday, I was on a day shift.
Yeah.
I could not think of, I was talking about how kids are more becoming more disinterested in the sport of baseball. It takes too long for all the reasons. And I said, I look around school, I'm there every day with kids and they're wearing basketball jerseys. They're wearing football jersey. I rarely see Yankees and Mets or any other team. And I couldn't remember. There was one guy, I said, he's wearing a Miami Heat jersey and the other kid was wearing, and I couldn't remember his jersey. Right. So he comes in on Monday and he's walking down I have a long hallway and he's walking down the hallway. He's like, Mr. McCartan, it was a whatever it was. It was a Cavaliers jersey. And I'm like, oh, I knew he was listening. He's like, I was with my dad in the car. And I was like, Dad, she's talking about me. Dad, she's talking about me. And it was a whatever jersey. And so that's always kind of rewarding. Although I don't tell them, it's kind of cool when they stumble upon it and they want to be part of it. I have a girl that listens too. She's like, my dad told me to tell you this about the Giants. And I'm like, oh, parent teacher conferences. Oh man. I talked when we did it virtually during the pandemic, and the wife had the phone. She was like, talking to me on the phone. And then the dad's like, when you're done, I got to ask her something. I talked about the school stuff, of course, for 10 minutes. And then luckily for them, I had an empty slot right after them. Yeah. He talked to me. He's like, so what do you think about Daniel Jones? And for 10 minutes, talking about Daniel Jones. So his daughter now listens. So you never know, you never know the impact of your words and your actions. And I don't know. I just hope I always try to do it with the most integrity, the utmost integrity, because I know the kids are watching and I know they're listening.
That's right. Yeah.
So especially on social media.
Yeah, no, one popped question into my head is that, and I don't know if you've ever been asked this, is that, when you're a fan of a team, to separate yourself from being a fan and having that objectivity. I have to ask you about that.
It's to me, again, how everybody's different, but how I do my show, I feel sometimes people are like, if I come out and say, hey, I am let's use California, I'm a Dodgers fan.
Yeah.
The Padres fans around there would be like, well, she doesn't know anything about the Padres. I mean, why do I have to listen to her about anything? So for me, not declaring, I hope I shoot a show right down the middle, that I am objective and people don't turn me off because I'm like, hey, let's talk about the Yankees next. And the Mets fans go, oh, no, because, I try to do it where it's like, okay, I try to be objective and I don't ever want fandom to get in the way of being objective. Because I've already got one strike against me in a lot of listeners' eyes. I'm a woman. That's first thing. She doesn't know what she's talking about. So if I say I'm a woman and I'm an Islanders fan, they're going to be like, well, she actually knows nothing about hockey. Like how people perceive that. So for me, shooting it right down the middle is the best policy for me, and it's worked out. And you know what though, it's not even that. I work for the Giants. My dad's a Giant fan. If the Jets and Giants played each other in the Super Bowl, I'd root for the Jets. If the Yankees and Mets played each other in the World Series, I'd root for the Yankees. I was on the Yankees as a T-baller. I was number 7. So it's like, but it doesn't mean I don't know anything about the Mets or you know what I mean? It's like, that's how I always put it. And I'm a New York fan. I really am. I have jerseys. I'll show you. I have jerseys of every team on the other side of my room over here. And I just root for New York to win. And it makes my job easier, more fun when the callers are happy and not negative and worrying about the draft in October 31st. So that's the long-winded answer, but I try to shoot a straight show. Yeah,
sounds good. Okay, Danielle, just an incredible honor and privilege being able to speak with you, and hearing I said your journey here, to being a sports, said host on WFAN. It's just outstanding. And thank you. And I wanted to get that in and, wishing you again, continued success and hey, looking forward to seeing what you do down the line as well.
Yeah, me too. We'll see what happens. And thank you so much. This has been great. You're very well researched, and that's always something that sticks out too. So thank you.
Thank you.